It's Comedy Dish.
Co-starring Rick Wright and Stephen Allen Green.
Here we are.
And here we are. How you doing there in England?
Okay, a little bit of congestion this morning when I woke up. And I have to figure out how to remedy it in the next 48 hours or so because I've got a DJ gig on Friday.
Yeah, that's a drag. I know Earl wasn't feeling well for a few days or a week or two. Hey, by the way, if you get congestion in your nose in London, do they charge you a congestion fee?
Yes, they're getting there. Believe it or not, they're thinking of just making a blanket charge on if you drive anywhere in London that you're going to have to pay on top of paying for petrol if you don't have an electric car.
That was probably their plan from the beginning. It's like all these websites that offer services, get you hooked, get your credit card details.
Yeah, they really want you to just do public transit and keep cars. I mean, there's an ulterior motive, that looks good, to the environmentalists. It's like, okay, getting a lot of the cars off the road, but it's really, it's a shame because the mayor who proposed this thing is a labor guy, and he's basically pretty liberal, but this thing penalizes people like myself, and I had to just get rid of my car.
Really? Got rid of your car because of this?
Yeah, because
how much is it?
Well, what they were going to do was they expanded the congestion zone all the way to M25, basically. So anywhere in London, if you're driving a car that is older than 2006, you have to pay $12.50 a day because it's not covered by all these environmental things. So
$12.50 a day is how many dollars? Real money, as we used to say.
Yeah, it's about $15 or $16 a day.
So it's
just to have your car, and then
so that's like $500 extra a month, and
Yeah.
then everyone's heating costs have gone up through the roof, beyond the roof.
Yes,
and it's harder to find work.
Yeah, it's a
wow.
I'm well, getting rid of my car. It's okay because I've found that most of my activity is within a couple mile radius, and if I really need a ride somewhere, not that I depend on Maggie for it, but she's available some of the time to take me to little things.
But why'd you get rid of your car? I mean,
well, because they had decided that any car prior to 2006 had not passed the current criterion for the what's environmentally correct as far as cars are concerned.
But they being London, so what if you had to drive up to Manchester, for example? You'd want the car, right?
Well, yeah, well, but I'd have to have the car parked outside that greater London area.
So just having your car parked there is going to penalize you.
Yeah, just to have it there. And it's interesting.
Wow.
There's a car park near Maggie's house that is an exact duplicate of mine, and it's got a number plate that has the same. It has a 5-4, which means that it was 2004, the second half of the year, and mine was a 5-4 as well. And and it's still there. I see it all the time. So they must have gotten it updated. My car had 120,000, and it was for the last 7 or 8 years I had it. I only drove it within a couple mile radius. So
just wasn't worth having. I remember when I lived in Notting Hill in that really cool flat. I was looking to buy a car. I had a motor scooter for a while until that was nicked, and I had a bicycle until that was nicked. And I wanted to buy a Morgan kit one of those convertible 1950s looking,
Yeah, they're
and
really cool.
I almost bought it, but then, and I had to consider I didn't have a garage, to keep it in
Say
that.
garage. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah. It just, so, yeah. So the weather here has been crazy. Starting Sunday, it's just been raining, 80 hours,
You
and
got pretty much a couple months worth of rain in the last few days.
some news outlets are saying we expect a year's worth, and I love the rain. It makes me feel like when I was living in New York or London, and
Hmm.
when I was in New York, when I went there as I got a literary agent, and I was fancying myself as a novelist, and I was living at the Hotel Chelsea, and I had,
Mm.
I would, to me, I loved it because I'd put on the raincoat and have my old laptop and
Yeah,
go
and you
go down to the.
love the way the pavement smells after it's been rained on.
Absolutely, absolutely, and just sort of the whole vibe is electric.
Mm.
And I had that same thing in England, and the problem is, as we all know in LA, is that you really can't enjoy that walking through the masses in the rain in LA.
Hmm.
Just doesn't exist. It's driving. It's sitting in traffic in the masses. What else is going on in your world? Did you do the King's Head recently?
Yeah, I did it, well, a week ago Saturday. The pay has gone up because they have one less comic on the bill. So,
Oh yeah,
so
what are they paying? Can you say?
oh, well, it was, if they had a full house, they paid 60 for 60 pounds.
60 pounds, which
That's
would be
about
about
$80.
$80 for a set. Okay,
And this last payment I got was for 90 pounds. So that's
nice.
about 110, 120, something like that.
Isn't that nice? Hey,
Yeah.
isn't that nice?
Yeah. And I walk to the gig.
I mean, come on, you're killing me here. The
Yeah.
last paid gig I had was about 3 weeks ago in Lancaster, about an hour and a half north of LA. I was paid by a comedian to drive him there, and he got me on the show.
Mm.
And it was pure rain and hell. And then when we got to the gig, in fact, the audience was great, but it's such a weird, desolate town of who are these people, and
I've gigged there before. Yeah.
in that you have.
Yeah. There was a gig I used to do every 3 months or so that it was a pretty big pub that was owned by a guy who played for the California, well, they were then the California Angels rather than the Los Angeles Angels.
Right.
And so it was a sport bar, but yeah, I would do that one about every 3 or 4 months, and it was okay, but it was way the hell out. It was a 2 hour drive from where I lived. So, um, but yeah, I guess you get used to that. And well, I was doing it here for a couple of years, and then once I moved into London, um, I remember just after I moved here, I got a gig in Leeds that didn't provide lodging, so it meant driving up to Leeds and back. And after I did that, and I just said, I don't want to do this again, or I don't want to do this anymore because I'd been doing it for about 10 years at that point.
Right.
And
Yeah.
and that's why that car got me through a lot. Uh, and
Yeah.
when I moved here, it had just under 100,000 miles, and that was 10 years ago, and by the time I got rid of it, it had 110,000. So,
As
uh,
I mentioned, I want to promote something before we bring on our guests. So I'm sorry to cut you off.
mm,
I just launched this today. See if I can find it here. Yeah, there we go. Um, it's my new online comedy course. That's right,
mm,
folks. If you've succeeded once and can't seem to do it again in comedy, you've
mm,
come to the right place. No, this is I've just launched. The link is on Facebook. It's an Eventbrite event, and it's called the Cinematic Comedian and How to Be Memorable. And the whole concept of it is that Let me just read the first paragraph, if you don't mind. That would help.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's a 90-minute online stand-up comedy workshop with a twist. Instead of just showing you the ropes, Stephen, that's me, will not only analyze your act, but show you how to turn your act into a compelling and memorable stage performance. My technique is to help the comedian imagine they are not on stage doing comedy, but in fact the star and hero of their own short film. Through this technique of applying screenplay rules to stand-up, Stephen elevates each comedian to a much higher status, leaving the audience begging for more. And this is actually something that I discovered for myself, and wrote for over a year and a half, and then realized I had been doing it all along to some extent, because it goes back to the days of the Comedy Store when I felt one had to choose between being a joke teller and something deeper, something more character-like, something with that showed the audience who. The whole thing is, when the audience wants to know two things from a comedian: want to know, one, who you are, and two, what your dilemma is, what you're going to talk about, to identify with them. So, I've done these privately, and I'm doing this now. We're going to have up to 25 people. I hope it should be fun. Good deal, I think. Okay, so someone has come in. Device is not detected. V is the person. Display name. Why is that me? Let me see if I can delete that. Sorry. Ban from studio. Kick from studio. Okay. I'm kicking them out. That's cool. I didn't know I could do that. All right, let's introduce our guest. We have a really cool guest. I met this guy in LA a few years ago through a mutual friend, and we have things to say about that. But here's the proper intro as I read it. And mind you, I have two keyboards in front of me, so it's a little blurry. Let me move forward here a little bit. And this is hopefully not going to sound too wooden. Okay, starting showbiz around the time of the successful movie The Full Monty, at age 37, life as an Adonis wasn't going to be short-lived. Not before winning an erotic Oscar. Ooh. Adrian joined the world famous naked balloon dancers. By the way, Adrian, I was at the last night of the East Dulwich Tavern on stage, and on the show were Malcolm Hardy and those other guys doing that thing. I forget what it's called, but that same thing. The Oddballs. Your group was the Oddballs. His tribute to the late Robin Williams, Mrs. Doubtfire, and Dame Edna followed. Being a lover of swing music after a bumpy start, wasn't long before he found himself in front of 17-piece Ingma orchestra. He cut his teeth. I hope you got a Band-Aid for that. On the notorious London stag circuit, which includes a memorable evening with gun pulled at point blank range. Next stop, Sunday night at the London Palladium. All three of us have something in common. We've all played that stage, supporting the talent of Joe Longthorne. Currently on Jim Davison Ustream TV, 2019 Australia, Hollywood, and Spain. Going from strength to strength. His charity work for the British Forces, the Royal Variety Charity. That's how I got into Jongleurs, by the way. Helping fellow act recover his lost voice from a stroke. That's quite an intro. I don't think we have time for him now, but please welcome Mr. Adrian Doughty.
Good evening, Los Angeles.
Good evening. Where are you precisely?
I'm in the south coast near Brighton. Little place called Eastbourne. Yeah, not far away.
I know Eastbourne.
About 16 minutes from Croydon, if that helps.
I've done gigs in Eastbourne.
Have you?
Yeah.
Who was that? Jim Grant? Through Jim Grant, was that Eastbourne?
You mean Stephen Grant, maybe?
Oh, Stephen Grant. All right, I've got Jim Grant down here. Yeah.
He had rooms in Brighton as well.
Okay, cool.
He's a comic as well. So we finally meet.
I know. It's funny, isn't it? We haven't bumped into each other.
Yeah, because I worked. I started working the circuit in 2001.
Right.
And continued to do so. Pretty much
the Fringe then.
Yeah, until about 2013 was when things started to drop off, and I started finding other things to do.
Yeah.
But it got me out of debt. So
yeah.
So we appreciate that.
That's funny because comedy got me into debt.
Yeah.
Funny.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That the yearning for comedy had gotten me deeply into debt too before I came here, and then managed to, jonglers help pay the bills. So I can't hate them, even though they pretty much cast me aside after 10 years. They just said, "Oh, he's too old." And
yeah, we all know my jongler story. I got in I swooped in like a storm and just got right in. And Maria Kopinska saw me and loved me, and then I got mucked about internally, and then there was this agent who got me fired on bullshit. But all these things. I always think about this because I'm working on the my film script about me coming to London and Jerry Lewis and all that, and because I've got this new director producer who I met in my Uber a few weeks ago, and so I always think about it's funny how life is, and and this is why I love writing as well. I stewed for years about my situation at Jonglers and the Comedy Store as well, which that Comedy Store really kind of was my fault, but it was me being stupid rather than who I was. Comedy Store at London. But there was some backstabbing. There was definitely some backstabbing. I'm not going to name names, but that there was definitely, I was set up. It's kind of like if someone sticks their leg out and you trip, but then you go through the glass window, you feel bad you didn't fall on the couch. But in any case, my point is this, is that if it's truly true, and it is in the screenplay and has been for 20 years, without these roadblocks like jonglers and disappointments and things, I wouldn't have produced the show at the London Palladium. Right. And and I can regret that because I lost so much money and all that, but I won't regret ever doing it. And now it's a big story that has had interest in the media and Hollywood for a long time, and now so it's just life. Have you ever had anything like that, Adrian, where such a heartbreak, stab in the back, stab in the heart, you work hard,
I think for us three, I think we all love what we do, else we wouldn't be doing it as long as we have. But I just think that the politics and the business element behind the scenes, it's just, I just don't like it. It's as simple as that. I'm not saying I can't sort of deal with some of it, but it is sometimes what I think's, how can I put this? I think that's the old saying, people are not as daft as those that want to be. Do you know what I mean? Or people think they are. And I think that I think sometimes you just look at it and you just think to yourself, do you really think that I don't know what's going on? Or do you really think that, do you know what I mean? The only thing that I've done personally to try to sidestep it as best I can, and that's why, as you was reading that, you've gone on to Mrs. Doubtfire and Dame Edna, and do you know what I mean, and the Oddballs, and I've just tried best I can to try and just kind of, I don't want that. Madonna's probably not the best example, but if anyone can reinvent herself, she has, hasn't she? Do you know what I'm saying? So I just try and sort of, every time there's, as hurtful and as, I mean, you're talking about the Palladium. I think it cost £9,000 for the license to film there. And I think there was 9 cameras on there. I haven't got one bit of footage. There's an example of what I would call, they were quick enough to ring me when they wanted the contract to film in there. Have I got the first half? No. Have I been told it wasn't filmed? Yes. Did I kind of believe that? I did, really, because there wasn't a camera on the stage. And as people that have been on there yourselves, you're probably fully aware that there's certain things you're thinking of when you go on that stage, and where the camera is or why are they filming you, it wasn't actually one of them. Do you know what I mean? You're actually overwhelmed with the sheer historical people that have looked in that mirror, for example, just before you go on, and stuff like that. It's going through your head. Yeah, sad, a bit of content came out just recently. I'm trying to track it down, where they sort of cut and shutted 2 different shows together at the Palladium, and it's me introducing a couple of the acts on. So clearly it was filmed, or it certainly was recorded, because that's my voice, so
your voice
there's the story of
audio. Then it's audio, not video.
Yeah. Well, I don't know actually, but what I can say is my mother's quite poorly with quite a bad dementia, and it would be nice just to put that sort of thing on to remind her that 2,000 people sang happy birthday on her birthday while she was sitting in the box there. It would be lovely to have, and I haven't got it, and that's got nothing to do with show business. It's just a personal thing that I find upsetting about it. You know, it's.
Yeah. Did you work the jongleur circuit ever, or?
No, I think because I came through that sort of, you know, the sort of hen nights thing, and then into the stag circuit, and then into mainstream sort of cabaret circuit, so to speak. I just didn't sort of hit that, and I think by the time you could sort of go back and do it, I think you've got such a stigma attached to you that it would be difficult to do it even if you wanted to. But then on the other side of the coin, by that time you've kind of gone through a little bit of I don't know if it's glass ceiling's the right words, but the sort of the payment for going and doing the jongleurs when you could go and do a cabaret for an hour single-handed in a nice golf club or something, you know,
if you
probably
have that
4 or 5 times more money
Yeah.
than going to jongleurs. So in a funny kind of a way, I don't even know if this is the right thing to say. Apologies to anybody that's on the other circuit. But
No, I think we understand. And Brian, you were trying to say,
yeah. Well, I was just reminded, you know, that what was good about jongleurs was that I was used to the LA clubs when I started working there, and the LA clubs pay like $15 for a 15-minute set, or Laugh Factory pays 20, I think it was, and here I was doing 20 minutes at jongleurs and getting 200 pounds, which
wow,
at
yeah,
that
that's
time,
yeah.
at that time, the
Yeah.
pound versus the dollar was about $1.50. So you were essentially getting about $300 for a 20-minute set. And,
wow,
that was
that's
phenomenal.
fantastic. That's more like it.
well, you know, that really, you know, I deal with that in my head all the time. Everybody knows I'm obsessed about several things, you know, running into my ex girlfriend and reigniting the most tempestuous relationship I've ever been in, going back to London, you know. But the thing is, you know, I do gigs. I rarely get paid, like most comics here in LA. I rarely get paid. It's not about the money, but it is about the money. But I drive Uber part-time. So I tell you, I had an Uber ride last weekend. I had this couple in from Phoenix. I cracked them the fuck up. I picked them up from a dispensary, and I was making all my high while driving jokes, and they were unbelievable. And then they tipped me well, and then they invited me for drinks the next night. They bought me drinks. They brought their friends. They thought I was this fascinating, hilarious character. When I spoke at the table, everybody stopped to listen. You know, so in a way, you know, I'm doing comedy for people, making them laugh and getting paid when I want and whenever I want.
That's
And
good.
you know what you know what I mean? It's not the same. It's not the same thing. Status wise, you know, I'm, you know, Uber driver. You're fucking losing.
I can't remember why I saw it or whether you put it up, but there was a fabulous bit of footage of you in London back in the day, absolutely ripping this room to bits. I can't remember where it was, but I loved it.
It would have been Frog and Bucket.
Yeah, I've only got lost a lot of tapes from London in a storage catastrophe, but I do have up online. Rick is right. One of my headlining gigs at the Frog and Bucket in Manchester.
I loved it.
You know, thank you so much. And I have to say, it doesn't really seem to help me get gigs here. One time it did, long time ago. I had a local friend in Phoenix who sold me and brought all of her office people, which is probably more it. But I think the problem is when I've shown this tape is that I think the Americans here say, if they're intellectual, they say, well, yeah, it worked in England, but will it work here? And then that leads them to, should I take the chance and be the first person to promote Stephen Allen Green? But I think the fact that there's a question and my style is a little different than, most comics. And I'm competing. I'm telling you, Adrian, it's a fucking heartbreak nightmare because I'm competing with stage time against against
Yeah.
no, I was going to say the opposite.
Oh.
Whoever's starting out is young people, and we're great young people, love young people, but I'm competing against them, and so nobody wants to hire an old guy who knows more than they do. Let's just put it. Let's just be blunt about it. I'm not trying to make this oh poor me, because I got other shit going, but I don't know.
Something you said there about Manchester that I find interesting is that because I'm sort of got this London thing going on, if I go up past, I don't know, Derby in England, you touched on Leeds. I done Leeds just before Christmas, and they just don't get it. They just don't like Southern people and Southern comedians, and it's difficult. If you're a sort of West Country comedian, or do you know what I mean? They just don't. They just.
I remember my one gig in Derby. I kind of did it on purpose just to see the reaction, but I said, "Well, it's good to be here in Derby," and it took about 2 seconds before someone corrected me.
Yeah, corrected you, sir, like from The Shining.
Yeah, and I said, "You're fucking." It's spelled D-E-R. How do you get dar out of that? But
it's funny. I mean, I've had. I'll give you a couple of funny stories. The first time I done Blackpool, okay, and I went on and it was there was three gigs, two in a spit and sawdust place called the Thistle. Wonderful northern comedian called Ricky Lane. He does a bit of a Bernie Manning tribute, amongst other things.
Okay.
Which gets quite well received, fun enough, in this funny world we live in. Anyway, so he gives me the gigs. I'm up there. Friday night was fine. There was 2 fights going on, one behind the bar and one the other side. So that was entertaining. So that went all right. And then it was the following lunchtime was the funny one. And there was an old boy down the front. And the routine kind of talks about when they first make love. And so it's about how they respond and what they say that really makes it funny. And in this particular occasion, there was an old boy sitting. He's got a peak cap. This was a thing called Pigeon Weekend for those in America that don't know what that is.
Pigeon Weekend.
It's Pigeon Weekend. So these guys collect these pigeons, and believe it or not, they would pay $30,000 for one pigeon. So to them, it's a really serious weekend. Okay. So anyway, but they're all there to be entertained. And this old chap sitting down the front, it was before the smoking ban, so he's got his little roll up and his peak cap. And I said to him, how old were you when you first got fucked? And he said, about half hour ago, when I paid £5 to come and see you. He said, you're fucking right.
I love it. I love it.
So I shook his hand and I said, sir, that's going in the book, and there you go. So there's one. I think the other one was Leeds, was it? You said I went to Leeds some years ago. There was an English cricket captain on before me, and I went on, and in them environments, it was like a black tie thing. So I've gone on to a nice song, and I do a few lines in the middle of it, and then done a few lines, nothing, dead, zero. I went, oh my god. So I've done it again, no, and I thought, right, if I carry on, I'm going to it's going to go piss. So anyway, so I said, let's get on with the auction then. Nice bottle of Ouzo, and it'd been in somebody's sideboard for about 15 years, I think. It was all dusty, and so I said, right, it's only for the children. Who'll give me $10 for it or whatever, £5. And the lady said, I'll give you £5. I said, what a wonderful lady. Give her a round of applause. I said, £10, I'll let it go. And this chap down the front, he said, I'll give you £10. He said, fuck off, he said.
It's a love thing.
And of course, it was a black tie do. So you couldn't, if we was down in the centre of London in a bit of spit and sawdust, but this was a nice black tie with an English captain. I just didn't know what to do. So I just managed to sort of recover momentarily. It was probably longer and I just said to him, I said, well, that's very, I said, yes. I said, well, if you'd like to be a little bit more generous as it's for the children, I'm sure nobody in here will mind if I go off earlier. And that was enough to shut him down. So, you know, so that was fine. And then I started finishing on a song, and all of a sudden, nothing. No microphone, no backing track, just me standing in front of 400 people. I was standing there.
Might as well have your clothes off. Yeah.
I just stood there and I just went, that's me off then, is it?
I love it. All right. Well, today our guest is Adrian Doughty, and joining in, broadcasting, webcasting from near Brighton. What is it specifically? Where is
Eastbourne.
Eastbourne. Eastbourne. We're going to go to our first
Bournemouth, isn't it? Is it near Bournemouth?
Near Eastbourne. No, a bit further to the left towards Kent.
Okay.
To the left of Brighton, about 30, 40 minutes from Brighton.
I shot a movie in Bournemouth where I was I had an ice cream van. That was the movie. Let's go to our first pub quiz. All right, this is our pub quiz. We do 3 pub quizzes, 3 questions per quiz. It's our guest, Adrian Doughty, versus one of our hosts, our co-host, me, Stephen Allen Green. Our quiz master is Brian. Brian will definitely balance the questions so they're not too Americanized.
I have to really, I had to do some check marking of these questions just to make sure that they weren't leaning toward one culture or the other. But yeah, we'll get by. So and let's see, tonight we're in the Stapleton, because Stephen always likes to know what pub we're doing the quiz in. So it is the Stapleton on Hanley Road at the corner of Stroud Green in North London, near where I live. And so question number 1 concerns grains. And the question is, spelt is a variety of what cereal crop?
Spelt?
Well, I don't understand. What I don't understand.
Spelt. Yeah, and you're backing up. Spelt is a variety of what crop? What grain?
Oh, I thought it was spelt is a variety of barley and rye.
It's neither one of those. It's
okay.
Even more
no, I haven't got a clue. So there you go.
Okay, it is wheat. So that's one.
There you go.
Wheat and what else? Wait a minute. You said it's a combination.
No, I said it's a variety. It's
variety of. Okay, yeah, right.
Yeah, it's not.
Sorry, I'm just getting warmed up. I'm just getting warmed up here.
Okay, I think I asked this last week, but let's give it a go.
Give it a go.
Animation. What cartoon couple were the first to be shown in bed together on U.S. primetime television?
This was last week's question.
Okay.
It was the Flintstones, right?
Flintstones. Pass on it then. Okay.
And I should have known that because I watched the show last week.
Okay. Classic television. Kind of. In what England county was Downton Abbey set?
Northampton?
Is that a county? Okay, Damien has answered the last question. No, it's not Northampton.
Right.
It's a brand of tea.
Oh, Tetley County.
No, there's no Tetley County. There's no Typhoon. There's no Lipton County. No, it is.
Notice.
It's Yorkshire.
Oh, Yorkshire.
Yeah, right.
I didn't know it was that far up. Goodness.
Yes. All righty. So no score yet. Let's try this one. The deaths of what 2 male singers resulted in 12 of their albums reappearing on the charts in the weeks following their deaths?
Were they in the same band?
No, these were 2 solo male singers that died many years apart. but it's the only time where
John Lennon and George Michael.
Boy, those are two good guesses, but it's neither one.
Yeah. I will say Elvis.
Elvis is one.
And did the other one come later?
Yeah.
Well, Damien, I think, gets the point because he's saying Michael Jackson.
It's not Michael Jackson.
Oh!
Which is surprising.
Sinatra.
It wasn't Sinatra either.
Give us a clue. Give us a focus clue.
Died in the last decade.
The last
Queen.
decade.
In the last
Queen.
Not Freddie Mercury. He died in the early 90s.
Right.
Ooh.
George Michael.
English singer. Damien's, or yeah, not Damien. Adrian said George Michael, but it wasn't him.
Oh.
But died the same year as George Michael.
Oh my
Well,
God.
a lot of millions of people died the first year as George Michael. How's that going to help?
There were actually there were quite a few big singers that died in 2016, but this was very early in 2016.
Early in 2016, and it wasn't George Michael.
All right, give us another focus clue.
First hit in the 70s, and he died one day after his birthday.
That doesn't help. Using trivia to clue us in on trivia doesn't help.
Oh, first
Give
hit in
us
the
some
70s.
widely known information.
Hot Chocolate. What's his name from Hot Chocolate?
No, bigger than Errol Brown.
Right, bigger than Errol Brown. Right, okay. We're getting warmer. That's a good clue. Bigger than Errol Brown.
Yes. Yes. Had let's see. His biggest hits were biggest single hits were probably in the 80s, but
give us something specific. He wrote.
We're going to kick ourselves, aren't we? This is going to be one of those where we kick ourselves.
Absolutely,
okay.
Absolutely. So, is it like his most famous song was about a car? Give us something specific.
Oh, Damien got it. Yep, it was David Bowie.
Oh, right. Got you.
Well done. Well done.
Here's
well
a bit
done.
of trivia where you said Errol Brown. Friend of mine done a tribute to Errol Brown, and then when he died, they've actually recruited him as the front man now for Hot Chocolate. He's been doing stadiums ever since. How about that?
Oh, it's kind of like Adam Lambert's gig.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Well, so right now the score is Stephen 1 and
Adrian
Damien
0.
1 and Adrian just, as they used to say on the old Jeopardy, and Adrian just watching. So
okay, wait. What's the score again? You lost me.
Stephen
1-0
to
you.
Stephen has 1, and Damien has 1, and Adrian has 0.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll be back for we got 2 more rounds. Yeah,
Yes.
I know you're gonna. Yeah, you see, Adrian, do you agree with me? Rick is like being his, bubbles of expanding obscurity. It's
It is, but we were quite close. I thought we'd done quite well with the names we pulled out of the hat, though. I thought they were quite good ones.
Yeah,
I got quite excited. I definitely thought it was George Michael. Okay.
Yeah, I think when he died, there was maybe 6 albums of his that recharted. But
Right.
Anyway, there's so much more useless information that I have to dispense for the rest of the evening. So
We wait with anticipation.
me too. So
you should be like an information officer on the London Underground. Useless information to spend for hours.
So, Stephen, did I
Yes,
not pick up on on one of your write-ups earlier last year that you worked with Robin Williams at some point in the early days? Is that right?
Yeah, sort of. I mean, I played with him more than worked with him. So, like, there was a selected few. I was just in the right place at the right time, hanging around the right people. Just did improv with him on stage at the Comedy Store, maybe I think 4 times. And when I say do improv with him, I mean, I was like, I was frozen, and he just went, la, 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 and everybody else, so.
hello, we lost you.
I'm here. I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Back now. Sorry.
Stephen's back.
Yeah, I guess I have a loose wire according to my position.
He's having trouble with his coil. You need to get your coil fitted.
Yeah, exactly.
Did I ever tell you about? I must have told you about the time that I had to follow Robin, Richard Pryor, and Eddie Murphy.
No.
At the
How
comedy.
do you do that?
Well, it was originally Robin that was just up there, and then Pryor got up, and the two of them were messing around, and then Eddie Murphy. Oh, that's what it was. Eddie Murphy was on first, and then the other two kind of joined him, and Robin and Pryor just riffing back and forth, and Eddie Murphy's just kind of standing in awe because he's like, "What do I do? I'm a big star, but I can't compete with these guys." And then he finally just interjects and says, "Hey, I only work from a script." And so Robin says, "Okay," and he does a pretty good impression of Eddie Murphy and is standing behind him and just says, "Okay, Eddie, you just move your lips and I will be your voice." And the Eddie Murphy did the facials and the stuff, so he redeemed himself. But it looked like he was just, oh shit, what am I going to do? I'm in the presence of genius, and I'm just Eddie Murphy. So, but then I had to follow that, and
it's quite interesting because as phenomenal Robin Williams was with Mr. Doubtfire. Allegedly, the original story before it came over to the States and got reworked and everything was about a theatrical agent in Scotland. So, of course, in theory, he's doing a Scottish accent, Robin Williams, but because obviously the Scottish and the Irish is so sort of close in dialect in some ways, and then, of course, he had an American accent. So when you put all the three together, that's why it sort of comes out a little bit mixed and comes out as, "Oh, there you go, dear.
Well,
once the father and my children passed away, that was it, dear." Total.
When I first met him, I thought he was English because he talked with that actor's accent,
right?
And so but then it was just that was just from his training at Juilliard. So yeah, it was strange but yes, I do a little name dropping. Yes, I toured with him as the opening act for.
I was going to mention that.
Well, I save you the trouble, but
it's a round of applause from the UK here. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it was 45 years ago.
Wow,
right around this time.
That is mad, isn't it?
And he just finished the first season of Mork and Mindy, and so he was the hottest thing in comedy. And I remember we were playing in New York, and I've got some tickets to the show for my. I have some relatives who live in New York, and they were coming, and I was standing out in front of the venue, and somebody offered me $100 a piece for them, for these tickets that I was holding. And I said, "Well, I don't think I can sell these because they're for, I'm the opening act, and and these are for my relatives," and they'd be a little disappointed, I think. But yeah, there was nuts. There was famous people every night that were coming to the show, so we got to meet. And sometimes Robin's dressing room was just full with sycophants and media and press and famous people, and so some of them just said, "Oh, we'll talk to you guys."
Hey, let me ask you a question. How come Ophants are always sick or ill? What why can't they be healthy Ophants?
Ophants.
Fans. Sycophants and
sick.
I'm sorry.
Why can't they be well-offants? Is what you're saying?
Well, yeah, correct me, but make it better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think and I've heard it mispronounced sycophant too. So
really,
yeah, which just puts it in a whole different. Makes it sound like they're nuts. So. As Ruby used to say, didn't stop the show, but sure slowed it down.
Sorry, I'm just a bit distracted dealing with some weird news from a friend. Damien Fitz says, wow, spot on accent. Which accent are we talking about, Damien? I don't know. Yeah. Sorry. Someone just messaged me something beyond important, and I had to deal with it. I apologize. Anyway, so I got thrown here.
Yeah, I think we could move into Nick.
Let's move into Nick. Yeah, I got a bit thrown. Sorry about this, folks. All right, so we're right back with our segment Nicked, and here we go. Okay, so Nicked is our segment, as you know, where we talk about comedians who have stolen material, whether consciously or unconsciously. And unconsciously includes like a comedy writer stealing the material. It also includes people just coming up with stuff coincidentally. Rick has a great example of that. And we only name names if the joke stealer is well known in public as a joke stealer. So we're not going to be saying anything defamatory, but it's more about the frustrations of creating something and working on something. I mean, just imagine this, folks. You know, if you created anything, an invention, or let's say you made a special cinnamon bundt cake at home that no one's ever done because you added a certain spice to it. And then, people are trying it and talking about it. And then a minute later, you find that someone else is selling them, making them and making a profit out of it. It's your thing. You created it. You worked at it. You discovered it. So it's very frustrating for us comedians. And there's a lot of, it's not just competition. There's a lot of bad stuff done behind the comedy scenes on occasion. And we just have to talk about it because they're interesting stories. So I never can start off this thing. So let's let one of you guys start with your story.
Yes. Let's hear from the guest.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, my sort of analogy on this was probably from about 20 years ago, and I was at the backstage at a theatre called the Marlow Theatre, and there was two very well-known comedians. It was Jim Davison and Jimmy Jones, and they were getting some sandwiches and their bits and pieces, and they were obviously discussing what each one was going to do. What you doing and what you doing and all that stuff, and it kind of prompted me to, at a sort of quieter moment, to speak to Jim Davison, or as he's known in theatrical circles, the General. And his thing was, he said, well, it's not a question of whether you've used a joke, it's a question of whether you've delivered it properly and got the laugh from it. If you've stolen the joke and then you've ruined it, that was his analogy. So I thought, okay, well, that's an interesting one. So that was one part of the conversation. On the other side of the coin, where, as Stephen says, I can remember for years, I still do. I don't use it all the time because it's a little bit naughty. I have to pick the right audience, but I use a handbag with various items in it. But what's interesting is, because I've been using it for probably 25 years, every time I do it, I use different phraseologies for the same visual gag, dependent on where I am. So if I was in the back of North London in the public, down the road, whatever, then, and it was a load of women or something like that, then I might say, I don't know, I'd say, I bet it on good authority she's a dirty cow or something like that. Whereas if it was a golf club or something, I might say something like, I've heard it on good authority she's a sexy beast. Is that right? And the point is, if you don't give it that little intonation, you're not going to get the response you're looking for, or not as good as you could. So I have had an experience where someone watched me do that, must have thought, well, that's good, I'll do that. And they literally the following week went on before me with a handbag. But of course, they never realized that years of practice and each word and that delivery or the aggressive, versus different parts of the country, of whether you do something gently.
It was kind of like the guys that, well, I can do a thing with a handbag, you know, but
Yeah, and I mean, I basically pull a
nuances, yeah.
vibrator out, and they all laugh, obviously, and I pretend that the bag doesn't belong to the, you know. I say, I understand this is yours. They gave me this earlier, and of course the woman's going, "It's not mine. It's not mine. It's not mine." And it's obviously it's a ridiculous looking handbag. No one would walk around with it, you know, come out of a charity shop, you know, grotty thing. And then of course, you know, you pull it out, and there's all the funny lines, you know. And then of course you're looking for. It's really about whether there's obviously someone's shocked. There's always someone that thinks that's outrageous.
Yeah.
So that the more outrageous they look, then I would be inclined to say it's all right. It's all right.
But how does this relate to material being nicked?
Well, because it's a part of an act that's been taken that I've experienced. Whether that's if you want to sort of go in more into it.
Yeah, you're saying that the guy that went up before him came out with a handbag and was, you know, but missed all the nuances of what was funny about the handbag.
Well, I mean, if you look at influential rock and roll, you know, McCartney has said in one of those 1965, I think it was the Los Angeles press conference of the Beatles, you know, he said, we probably pinch as much from other groups as they pinch from us. So in music, you know, you can inspire people and other bands, other artists to do something similar, you know, and of course in music they have sampling. But in comedy, it's different. I mean, in a sense, it's the same that we get influenced by comedians we work with. And, you know, you're going to occasionally come up with something similar. If I work with Adrian, for example, and I see he's got a handbag with props in it, I thought, oh, that's a good idea. You know, because I used to have a prop case, and I have a guitar on my back and an old suitcase with my ventriloquist dummy and a couple of other gaggy things that I did back in the day. I really wanted to be that gaggy comic, you know. And that's a whole other thing I wanted to talk about, which isn't about Nick, but it's about the snobbery of the alternative comedy alternative comedy circuit against us traditionalists and variety performers. And I've stepped over the border into alternative comedy at some point, and it has influenced me. Now I think personally I'm a hybrid of all these different strains, and I don't belong anywhere. But the audience seems to like me. But it's all going back to the point about categories, about thievery. You know, my most famous guitar bit when I first started was, and this was my audition at the Comedy Store. You know, I like to play for you a bit. I just wrote. I'm really a songwriter. Hope you like it. Here it is. And the audience quiets down because they've been listening to comedy all night you know, and they want to hear some music. I get it really quiet. I put the guitar up to the guitar mic and I play very softly, gently, the beginning picking chords from Stairway to Heaven, and they crack the fuck up. And then I get angry with them for laughing. This is a song I wrote. You know, then we go back and forth. They know I'm just putting them on, right? And I don't know why I chose Stairway to Heaven other than it was a popular song back then for comedians
to
make
jokes.
Recognizable
lick in the world, you know, and I still use it.
Yeah,
I do a different thing with it. I play that opening lick, but I go in, you know, where vocal comes in. I either sing "You're Beautiful" by James Blunt or "Let It Go" from Frozen, or you know, just find some obnoxious song and just, you know.
Well, and you, Rick, you have the most one of the most famous thefts from what's that clown's name?
Puddle's Pity Party. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if, but yeah, it's a bit I started doing in the early 90s of the Johnny Cash Folsom Prison Blues. The melody to that, you can insert the lyrics to the Who's Pinball Wizard, and it fits. And then there's this video that came out on YouTube of this clown named Puddle's Pity Party, who now is big headliner in Vegas. And, you know, people pay big money. I mean, there were some friends of mine that were saying, oh yeah, we're going to go to Vegas to see Puddle's Pity Party. And I just said, well, you should know he stole one of my bits. And the first comment was, oh, the shit got real. Well,
let's go to that bit right now.
Okay.
So this is London Palladium, September 8, 2002, the show I produced and financed. This is the end of Jim Gaffigan's bit, and then Rick Wright.
Yeah, it only took 2 hours, and then I could take a nap.
I'm just a poor boy, nobody loves me. Mama mia, let me go. Beelzebub has a devil put aside for me, for me, for me. President.
Was that the bit?
No, that was Bohemian Rhapsody is a rockabilly song. Same idea.
Wait a minute. Did you do this at the 2000 High on Laughter?
No, I probably did it at the.
No, but did you do it at the 2000 High on Laughter?
I probably did it each year because it was, it was one of my top bits. And in fact, yeah, by the time we did High on Laughter at the Palladium, I had, expanded and did all those country songs. Did Wild Thing as a country song, and Smells Like Teen Spirit as a country song, and then closed with Bohemian Rhapsody. But before that, I would do Johnny Cash.
Well, as a matter of fact, let's go there now. This is August 2000, Edinburgh, at the Queen's Hall, 900-seat Queen's Hall in Edinburgh. Sorry, Adrian, this is where it goes. You're not the star.
I'm loving it. I'm loving it.
But I'm getting your managers texting me. Why isn't my star getting more screen time?
Oh, they're not. Get out of it.
Get out of it. Get out of it.
Get out of it. I like that. Here we go.
Ever since I was a young boy, I played the silver ball. From Soho down to Brighton, I must have played them all, but I ain't seen nothing like it in any amusement hall. Oh! Well, that deaf and dumb and blind kid sure plays a mean pinball. Yeah!
Yeah! Hey!
I'm wondering what that medallion was that I was wearing.
I don't know about the medallion. I love the shirt.
Yeah, the shirt. I recognize the shirt. Okay.
That was let me turn this off. It was such a fun show. Of all the shows I produced, the High and Laughter shows, even though it was the most lightly attended, but we did it over like 3 or 4 nights. And then the next year at the 3,300-seat Edinburgh Playhouse, and then the London Palladium. The one I enjoyed the most was that one, the first one.
Yeah,
you know why? Because of the people on the show. They really we had good improv. We had musical comedians, the great Earl Oaken, you, and it was just like very fringy. It was still at that fringe level. When the following year, I'm like, I can see what I can do, and rented the Edinburgh Playhouse, and then the year following, rented the London Palladium, and it stopped being fun. It just became pressure and work and worry, and isn't that the way it goes,
I mean, would you mind me asking how much was it at that point to rent the Palladium?
I remember, as best as I can, it was somewhere around £12,000 when the pound was $1.65.
Right, got you.
So maybe like, I don't know, $18,000-$19,000 for the night. Right. But that was the least, I hired, I spent, I think, around $25,000 on promotion and advertising, £25,000. And
and also you had to pay those musicians.
Well, that's the Jerry Lewis. Oh, the Jerry Lewis expenses. So, Jerry said he'd do the gig for free, but he has some expenses. He tricked me. I'll do it for free, kid. Okay, great, but I have some expenses. What? So the orchestra was £25,000. 3 people in his entourage, but he wanted 7. But instead, he wanted to bring his orchestra leader. I found local guy, Gareth Valentine in London, who conducted him in Damn Yankees. And I got, because each person I brought over from America, except Jerry Lewis, cost me around $20,000. And I found Gareth Valentine in London for a tenth of that, just paid him a good fee to come down to the Palladium. Immeasurable costs. I had no idea.
Yeah,
you know,
it adds up. If you're on a Sunday, it's double time for the fire officer, double time. The tax, they all have to have a taxi home, all the staff after 11 or whatever.
I had to. Jerry demanded, demanded that I provide 24-hour limo and security. So I had 2 blokes, and the most frustrating, ironic, weird part was Jerry had locked himself in the dressing room at the Palladium and used the 2 bodyguards in my employ to keep me away. And I said, "Look, I got to talk to Jerry about something." He said, "We work for Mr. Lewis, so you're not allowed."
No.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
There. What did I say at the beginning of the show about the business? That you've just absolutely hit the nail on the head right there. Now, I was standing there, and I had a situation where Joe Longthorne's management wanted to have their what do you call it? For the book, the CD sales, the merchandise. They wanted the money that night, and Sir Andrew Lloyd Webber's management said, "No, you get it next month." And I was standing in the middle like that.
Oh wow!
Yeah. Beautiful. You
know what I like about this show, especially today's show, and you'll notice I was able to put the Union Jack in the background because we knew feature StreamYard is offering. But with you guys, I feel like this is American people watching this. I feel like I'm down the pub with 2 of my best mates, and like all my troubles. Because when this is done, I switched to health insurance. I got to call my new doctor, and then I got to listen to an hour-long recording on the phone, and then then I got to go run and do this, and I got to do that. I don't have enough money to pay for this, so do I have to Uber? But wait a minute, I'm okay. But all this shit that I got to deal with. Like we all have to deal with shit, and just. This feels like I'm down the pub.
Yeah, this is not shit.
This is just fun. I don't. Like I look at the numbers, how many people we got watching, and then I'll check when the show's over to see how many people watched, and then I'll track it over the week to see how many people watched eventually, and start thinking, okay, can I monetize this? I gotta start making money in showbiz ways again, and but right now I don't give a shit about that. I just am having fun, and this particular episode, God bless you, Adrian. You're making me, whether you realize it or not, I just feel like I'm down the pub, and this is what matters.
Yeah, well, that's right. That's what it's all about, isn't it? And you'll have to talk. I don't know if that was the gentleman that I do the Nigel Cross that do the UK comedy channel. You can see it's behind me. Where is it? That way. That way. There you go. Just there.
Okay.
And so maybe you guys should talk about swapping bits, or you know what I mean, and maybe.
What do you mean? What do you mean he does the UK comedy channel?
Well, it's a lot of shorts at the moment, but I've got about 17 interviews.
No, what does he do? What does he do there?
He's the technical man behind the scenes.
Oh,
well, I'm still sitting on over 3 hours of never broadcast London Palladium footage, and I want it to be a documentary, or I got about 33 or 4 minutes of it broadcast on Bravo at one point. But anyway, I've got content, but it's all
I think the answer to that is twofold. One is to talk to him about what you're doing here, and whether there's a synergy there to sort of promote each other's products. And then if you go and I should put a shout out for Jim Davison's Ustream. Now he's actually charges about £80 a year but gives you the access to all the different stuff that's on there. And now he would be the person that would more likely buy that content off you, because that's the sort of content he's got on there. He's got like Jethro at the Palladium. He's got
So can you connect me with all this after? Can you connect me with this after we do the show in the next couple of days?
Of course. Yeah, of course.
I was just going to ask: is Jim Davison's? I mean, obviously he still can draw a crowd, I guess. But
yeah, he does theaters. I think he's got about 60 theaters on this year, something like that. Yeah. And then he's got the online thing. I don't know the exact figures, but it's he started it in lockdown, and it's gone from strength to strength. I'm on there at the moment. He done a thing called laughter classes, and I went along and. Because you've got to remember, at the end of the day, it's a bit like Britain's Got Talent. They're making a television program.
Yeah, when I was first in UK, somebody was that I was staying in their spare room had some videos of Jim Davison, and I was watching. Incorrect, that kind of stuff.
You froze up there for about 15 seconds here.
I saw that. I didn't know who it was.
Yeah, we all had black screens there. I was saying that the people I talked to about Jim Davison, this is over 20 years ago, but the comics working the jonglers type scene did not respect him at all. So I don't know.
No, I was going to mention that earlier, but I didn't want to. It was just, what is that? Is it that he's sexist in his material? He's kind of
or politically incorrect.
School, politically incorrect.
Well, I think. I mean, this is we're going down the rabbit hole now, aren't we? I don't know. I think that when you say politically correct, I think that you know,
like
it depends where you are. You know,
exactly. It's like Rory Bremner, right?
Yeah.
For example,
Right.
You know, it depends where you are. And I mean, for example, let's talk about disabled people. Now, one of my mentors, if you like, was a guy that you probably would know from the jongler days. Was Tony Gerard, the little Jewish man, played the saxophone in a wheelchair.
Yes.
Remember him?
Yeah, I remember.
I don't.
Right now, then, so he a lot of my timing I've learned from him. Yeah, that's where I've got a lot of my timing.
Wow.
And so if you take him as a for instance, and I used, because obviously I knew him and I knew some of his sort of lines and that, I've walked into situations. I went into one place where a guy, I don't know how long he'd been in a wheelchair. I think that he was only young, so I think he must have had an accident or something. Anyway, it was his birthday and I got contracted to go there, and so that was it. And he was spiteful. I mean, he was sharp, he was spiteful. And I just thought, well, what can I do? I'm just opening up. I can't sort of come back at him as he's coming at me, really, because it's all his family and he's in a wheelchair and it's his birthday. What do I do? And in the end, I was confronted I was cornered where I wasn't going to walk off the stage. So bear in mind, I'd watched Tony work for many years, as you have. So I said, all right. I said, don't ever go at me because you're in a wheelchair and every time you fart, you go up in the air. And there was a sort of silence for a minute and then he burst out laughing and off we went. The point of telling the story is at the end of it, he came up to me and he got hold of my hand. I'm not kidding you. I mean, obviously, if you're doing that with a wheelchair, I mean, he had arms like the top of my legs and he grabbed hold of me and he just stared at me and he had tears in his eyes and he said, thank you. Thank you for treating me as a human being. If I had my legs, I would have given you the same shit. And somewhere in the middle of that, no disrespect to all the jongler people out there, but that's real life. Okay, your brain and where you think political correctness is, sorry to say, but that experience tells me they're wrong. The same as I entertain the Marines. A Marine is a man's man. Or even if it's, you know, women soldiers, they are the kind of people that when they go to war and they come back with no legs, they are exactly the sort of people that go into Prince Harry's, what's it called, Invictus Games and win a gold medal. They are not people that appreciate being treated like some sort of second-class citizen that's over there because they can't walk. And that's just somewhere between, yes, we need to be a little bit more thoughtful, and reality, there's a right answer. It's not for me to say where that answer is, but I can tell you that as somebody, I mean, I'll give you another example. Go out one night, guy's got a voice box sitting right in the front. I start off and he goes, right, and he's got a magnified voice. And I'm sitting looking at him and I'm thinking, well, what am I to do here? I can't ever go at a man with throat cancer, can I? Or what do I do? I can't go nowhere. I just opened up. I'm there for the evening. I can't go. And I wasn't going, and I've touched wood. I've never walked off a stage in my life. So in the end, out of like, I've tried everything and it weren't going away. He was there and I was there and something had to give. So in the end, I went, all right, if you don't shut up, I said, I'm going to take the batteries out of that bleeding thing in a minute. And
That's okay.
once again,
The-
now, how would that go at Jongleurs? It wouldn't, would it?
No.
They'd freak out. There'd be cardiac arrests, ambulances called. I'd probably be put a rope round my neck and dragged out the back door
Yeah,
somewhere.
exactly. They totally crucify you. Rick, what are you going to say here?
It just reminded me of the sitcom that was popular in the 2000s called My Name is Earl, and they got it over in UK as well. And they had a recurring character who had one of those voice boxes,
Right.
and there's a scene where they're at a yard sale, and Earl has this really dense brother named Randy, who's just but very sometimes had some very funny lines, and so the guy's talking with his voice box, and Randy says to him, "I'll pay you $100 if you say, 'Luke, I'm your father.'" And and he did. Yeah, "Luke, I'm your father." So,
Well, I mean, I say, this goes back to all of our discussions we've had about, cancel culture and political correctness in comedy, and I think, part of the problem is that I keep.
no, you're there.
Hello. Part of the problem is I need a new cord. Part of the problem is that if you're crowd working with this individual, and there's especially a circumstance which is distracting to your work and everyone listening to you, you kind of have automatic rights to go in there a little bit, and then depending on how back they play and your feeling of how much you want to defend the stage is very important. And so there's that, which is very different than just a comic using people in wheelchairs as a subject, a pre-written subject matter and routine they work so hard on. And they might even argue, yeah, but in the end, I'm the fool and they're the great, and it doesn't matter. People just turn it off. They don't want to hear it. They don't want, that's the biggest problem in America, is that there is no room for consideration, listening, or conversation about anything out of the ordinary, and anything with more than one dimension to it in terms of point of view is out of the ordinary. I mean, very few people are fighting for our freedom of communication more than freedom of speech, like Jon Stewart fighting Congress to extend the health package for 9/11 firefighters who are sick and dying from 9/11, from saving the rest of us. And everything's gotten so tilted. And I have a theory. I think that because most American citizens feel helpless in this still terrible time of government, I think we turn inwards. And so we want to take that frustration out on whatever we have the power to do. And cancel culture is part of it, is that's temporary solution. At least I'm doing something, I think. Anyway, speaking of doing something, let's do our next pub quiz.
Yeah, I think we'll just.
I'm sorry, what were you saying, Brian?
Let's consolidate all the rest of this into the one round, because there's still so much that we want to cover, and we got 15 minutes.
Okay.
But I want I got a couple of Trump questions. But the first one is the category is rappers, not the things that you put candy in, but the guys that rhyme. So what rapper last week surprisingly came out in support of Trump, which was a turnaround from a 2018 video he did, which depicted him shooting the then president? He's been famous since the 90s, American rapper, African American. So rule out Eminem.
Jay-Z.
It's not Jay-Z, but he's equally as famous.
Ice Cube.
More famous than Ice Cube.
Ice-T.
More famous than Ice-T.
The Jewish rapper Iceberg. Lemonade.
No, it's
a urine sample. Is it urine sample?
It's an animal. Or
It's an animal.
Has an animal in his name.
Has an animal in his name.
It's not.
I got a comment coming in. I think it's Damien. Let's see.
It's not 50 Cent.
No, it's not 50 Cent. Okay, wait a minute. A rapper was against Trump did a video of him shooting Trump in a music video. Now supports Trump.
Yeah.
And has an animal in his name.
And Damien got it. It is Snoop Dogg.
Snoop Dogg is supporting Trump.
Yeah, he did a video where he just basically said that he's done a turnaround. Okay, well, it's like Damien's winning today.
Yeah, how's that happening?
All right,
what's going on?
Let's have Damien bow out of this one. The category is heavy metal.
No, he can play. Damien can play.
Okay, to the nearest minute, how long is Stairway to Heaven?
7 minutes.
Incorrect. Does Adrian have a?
No idea.
Well, Stephen was close. It's 7 minutes and 55 seconds. So
Wow,
8 minutes would be the.
Wait, you said within a minute.
No, I said to the nearest minute.
I mean, the nearest coming minute.
Yes.
Okay, let's have some real questions here.
All right.
Adrian, you have one for us. By the way, Adrian or Damien, if you guys have a trivia question, you can just throw them in here.
Yes. Okay. Astronomy. What type of star is most common in our universe?
Kim Kardashian. There you go. What kind of star is most common in our universe?
Yes. What? Most of the ones we see. What'd you say?
North Star.
Did you say dwarf star?
No, North
Star, mate. North Star.
Yeah, number. I'm sorry. Yeah,
NORF.
I've only been here 20 years. I still have to.
We don't know what kinds of stars there are. Adrian, do you know what kinds of stars there are?
Well, the only one that came in my head was North Star, so I went and said North Star.
Yeah, but that's not a kind of star, is it, mate? It's not a kind of. It's a fucking name.
Like red giants and.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Dwarfs. I don't know. I give up.
The answer is red dwarf. So we're having trouble here.
It's your fault.
I know. It's always me. All right. Another Trump question. Trump's stupid. What famous person did Trump say people have told him he looks like?
What famous person has been that Trump was been told he looks like?
Yeah.
He is a famous person. So another famous person.
Yeah, another famous person. And he doesn't look the least bit like this person. A person that's been dead a long time and was in one of our previous questions.
What, tonight?
Yeah.
David Bowie?
Keep going. Come on.
Elvis?
Elvis is the
No fucking way.
No. He reposted a picture of a split screen of half is his face and half is Elvis, and there is absolutely no resemblance whatsoever.
Maybe fat Elvis on the toilet about to die.
Yeah, that's what a lot of the comments have been.
So I'm not original, is what you're saying. All right, what's the score?
I think it's Damien has 2 and you have 2. Okay, what famous American deceased comedian does Adrian look like?
Wow. What famous American deceased comedian does Adrian look like? Oh, that's easy. Jonathan Winters, right?
Bobo?
Is it Jonathan Winters?
Is it Jonathan Winters?
Yeah.
Damien, is it Jonathan Winters? I think Jonathan Winters. Have you ever been told that? You look like a thinner Jonathan Winters.
No, Tony Blackburn's the one I normally get told.
You were correct.
I had a fringe.
You're correct, Stephen. So now you have an extra point.
Oh, I'm getting points from Damien's questions. I like the way this is going.
That's good. Good old Damien.
We love Damien. We love him.
Where's Damien? Is he in the States or are you over?
He's in the States. Where are you? Do you think he's back east? We're in Pennsylvania, Damien. I forget where you live. Tell us where you live.
Yeah, we were going to have him on one of these times, but
I'd like to. I think he's just busy or something. He likes
Or
to be
shy.
behind the scenes. Yeah, I think he's a bit shyness going on.
Mhm.
DC, that's right, DC.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
And do you ever worked? Damien's a comic, by the way. Have you worked for Jeff Penn? We talked about this. Jeff Penn, my great friend who produced stuff in for the Mark Twain Awards and produced a gig in Bethesda. Okay, give us another question while Damien ponders that.
Okay, James Bond question.
All right, now we're talking.
How many films featured Daniel Craig as James Bond?
5.
5 is right.
Wow.
Adrian got a point.
Thank God for that. It's getting a bit
Wow.
embarrassing.
Wow. Give us another question.
Okay. Let's see. Let me go to the back pages. I had a couple good ones there.
A couple of good ones.
All right. World landmarks. What Italian tourist attraction was closed from 1990 to 2001 for structural reinforcement?
Leaning Tower of Pisa.
Yeah. Oh, you just zoomed right in there. Okay. So it's now 2-2. So this is the question for all the marbles.
I don't know if Damien, are you? I think he went to the bathroom or something. Damien, are you still there?
Yeah.
No, because I mean he put
Oh,
DC in, but I asked him something else.
Yeah.
Oh, Damien.
Damien.
I mixed up Damien and Adrian now. So okay.
All right. Let's see. What time is it now?
Yeah, we got 7 minutes. So
okay, let's just do another question. Okay, he's still there. Okay, so you want to make this question for the win, and then we'll talk to Adrian some more, and then
yeah, let's just let's do
for
that.
the win. Anybody here could win. Winner take all. Okay, Adrian.
Right.
All right.
Does it matter?
I'm going to find an older question.
I'll be back.
Literature.
I'm drinking some of my urine, by the way. You know, if you add a little sugar to it and put it in the freezer, it's delicious.
You're in good shape.
Really
Really
good.
taking the piss.
Yep.
Sorry, go on.
Okay. Oh gosh, this is I'm trying to find the good one here. Literature. I scowled at myself in the mirror is the opening line to which 21st century bestseller? Probably one of the best sellers of the entire century so far.
50 Shades of Grey.
50 Shades of Grey is the right answer.
I didn't even fucking read it. Hey.
So, well, this is a rare. If that was winner take all, then Stephen, that's your first win in about 3 months or so.
Rub it in, Brian. Rub it in. I fucking won, didn't I, mate?
Yes, you did.
Yes, you did.
Grosvenor. Yes, you will. Take the job. Grosvenor. Sexy Beast. You know that movie? You've seen Sexy Beast, right, Adrian?
Not yet.
What?
It's not out. It's only just come out, isn't it?
It's 20-something years old. It's,
right.
Ray Winstone, Ben Kingsley. Come on, mate. It's the best British gangster film ever made, called Sexy Beast. And Ben Kingsley.
I might have seen. I think I have seen that, but I don't remember it being called that yet.
Oh, such a great film.
Oh.
Anyway, that's our pub quiz. Now, before we finish up with Adrian, and when I say finish up, it means we're all gonna never mind.
Yeah, well, you're in the same time frame as I am, so
yeah. So we have no guest for next week, but we do have my friend Brian Brian Saunders in 2 weeks. So I can't promote next week's show. Do we have anybody for next week?
I thought you had some writer named
Hank. Wait a minute. I think Hank, my friend Hank,
for next week. So yeah.
Oh yeah, you're right. I got to put that up on my own website so I remember. But yeah, Hank Rosenfeld. Oh, I'm fucked up. Who wrote a bunch of great comedy books, including a collaboration with one of the Marx Brothers writers, and he's really funny, witty guy, and knowledgeable.
Okay.
And Damien, thank you for joining us as usual. 5 minutes left. Do you have anything to promote, Adrian?
Yeah, well, you got the over my shoulder. Oh, wait a minute, over that way. There we go. If you want to catch us up with us there, I know there's a few gags on there, old stuff, some of the old.
So how do we find
some of the old ones?
How do we find it?
It's on YouTube. My website is ukcomedian.com.
Oh, that's a great website.
And yeah, so that's good fun. And obviously I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Adrian UK Comedian. And I'd like to also just apologies. I was over in September, but I lost my father at the end of July. So it was a funny old visit, you know. It was all a little bit kind of. So, you know, maybe when I'm over next, maybe we can catch up for a coffee or something.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, definitely. Come on out here.
Yeah.
I love when I just had one of my Scottish mates, Ian Kendall, is a magician who was booked at the comedy Magic Castle.
That's me, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the website, yeah.
I love when my British friends come out here, and I'm your Uber driver. You know, just you don't have to pay me anything except if it's a long ride, pay me some gas money. But I'm your Uber driver, and
oh, bless you.
Yeah. Because
when we met, Brian, I just literally got off the plane, and then she whisked me straight to the radio station. It was about 1 a.m, wasn't it? I think. So we was kind of
pretty late. Yeah, it's pretty late. Yeah. And you know, I'm surprised that Fraser Smith forgave me for that, because that was she without naming her name, and I hope she's okay. Fucking nightmare. What a nightmare she is. Poor thing. You know, I just feel sorry for her. Sometimes I think she's just lost. Have you been in communication with her?
Yeah, I did catch up with her when I came back, because she rang me, and we had a quick coffee down by and with Matt, you know, and yeah.
Here's what I think. Here's what I think about her. Because I'm going to be kind here, and also honest. I think she has never adjusted to America properly in terms of communicating and thinking, and she communicates overly in emotions and over surmounting insurmountable pride. And then when put on the spot, like when I got her on that radio station, and Fraser said, "So who do you have on your comedy festival?" and she couldn't name a name of the things she produced.
Yeah. That was I did, you know. And then of course she talked about the Oddballs, which was fine, but it probably didn't really help the thing. But anyway, it doesn't matter. It was, as you say.
No, it doesn't matter. But I just feel bad for her. I think she's got a good heart, but her.
Thank you, Damien. Wish you well, sir.
Yeah. Adrian, you have been a great guest. You will be back again. Thank you. I hope. And I can't wait, you know, I just need the money and I got to get my knee fixed. That's going to take a few months to heal. And then I got to just get the funding together. And I want to go back to England for at least 5 weeks, 6 weeks, maybe, on a trip.
Well, I'm quite happy to. Well, you got Brian there anyway, but yeah, Charmaine Davis. Do you work with her over your side, Brian? Charmaine Davis?
No, I was thinking of. I worked the last gig I did. I worked with Charmian Hughes, but that's somebody different.
That's not who you mean.
No.
Yeah. What about her?
Well, she does quite a lot on that circuit, you know. And
in London or here in LA, you mean?
In London, and the last sort of 4 or 5 contracts I've had where the setup where they're doing like a monthly gig, I hand over to Jim Grant. So once again, you know, he's, you know, check him out on my Facebook page. And
all right. Well, thanks for being our guest. I'm going to say
I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's been great.
Listen, you're terrific. You again. This, I have to now go back to my reality, which I'm not looking forward to. It's just like, you know, the old Andy Cap cartoon. You know, I'm dragging my back home to a nagging wife. My wife are, you know, financial problems and idiots I have to deal with. But
listen, I as you know, my daughter's there, and Mac, and it's just absolutely. I mean, we went out for that.
Your daughter lives in LA.
Yeah. Well, I went over there to. We went to. Is it Wolfgang's restaurant? Wolfgang, whatever his name is.
Wolfgang Pucks.
Yeah, 5 for dinner, $1,000.
Yep, that's about right.
And £200 tip, 1,200 quid. Absolutely crazy.
Next time I'll take you to Musso and Frank's, the oldest restaurant in Hollywood. It's a bit pricey, but not that pricey.
That's nice.
All right, folks. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next
Thank you.
week.
Good night. And Damien, thanks for being a good sport. We love you. Keep
Okay.
on.
Yeah, thank you, Damien. All right, Brian, Adrian.
Brian.
All right.
Yeah.
See
I'm
you
in
all
North
next
London.
week.
I'll let you know.
Bye, ladies and gentlemen.
Very good.
See you later. Good.
It's Comedy Dish.
Co-starring Rick Wright and